Hi there. Welcome to another edition of The Other Tom Green Show. And today we're going to talk about film and films that involve sports. Of course, some are really based on sports. They're thickly involved in the games themselves. You think of the Field of Dreams and Bull Durham with baseball. Football's always been a tougher ask, though. I always remember Warren Beatty made the great movie Heaven Can Wait. It was actually a remake of a film, but it was the first time that I ever saw NFL film like NFL film. They were able to shoot at the LA Coliseum during an exhibition game, and they went out and shot the game like the game is shot by NFL film. So it added some credibility to what was a tremendous film. Again, Heaven Can Wait. Then there are movies that run on the periphery of sports and oftentimes use sports simply as a metaphor and or a time setter, let you know where you are in the world, what part of the world we're in. And that's one of the films we're going to talk about today. It's a movie that came out this year. It's called Green and Gold. And we're going to meet the man from Fort Collins who made it when we come back.
For my Grandpa Buck, farming wasn't a job.
Easy.
It was a sacred act. I couldn't do farming anymore. I was on my way out for some bigger dreams.
This ain't your land.
Well, when you don't pay your loan, it becomes my land.
How much do we owe the bank?
I will make a little wager with you. Pack go all the way, I will give you another year interest-free. And if they lose, you sign everything over to me.
Take it.
Your granddaughter's really talented.
Yeah, I know that. You hurt her, and I will cut you like a 10-pointer.
Great.
You go chasing your hopes and your dreams, and you forget who you are, and you lose everything that's wild and free. You still believe in what we're doing?
More than anything. Go back.
And that is Green and Gold. It is now available on Amazon Prime. And the man who made the film, Anders Lindwall, joins me now. It's a beautifully shot film. I imagine some of that may come from the fact that you knew that area so well. You shot it up in the area you grew up in.
We shot in northern Wisconsin. So I grew up technically in the upper peninsula of Michigan, but right on the border of northern Wisconsin. Right. The frozen tundra is real. And this is my first film, and they always say, like, when you get a chance to make your first film, start as close to home as possible and work with people you know, stories you know. And so, I grew up as a diehard Packers fan, and my grandfather was a dairy farmer. And so when you put those together, this is the movie you get.
So I talked a little bit about football being a metaphor. Sports can be used as a metaphor for sometimes. This one also places us in the mid-1990s when the Packers came close and would next year go on to win a Super Bowl. But is one of those things where I think it helps the viewer identify where we are and what we're talking about.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's funny. Somebody after watching the film, a reviewer said, I think this is called Packer mysticism, this type of, which I really liked that, honestly, where I think it's more than just like orienting you into the location, but it really, for those of us who grew up in that area, like during late fall, after deer season to March, there's not much going on. Yeah, it's thaw. So it's like Packer football heats up and it just is so much more intertwined in that area, I feel like, because there's nothing else going on.
I think every city, every town with the NFL thinks that they are the best fan base. And you think of here in Colorado, of course, the Broncos have a rabid fan base. Yeah. The Steelers have a famous fan base as well that travels awfully well. Yeah. But the Packer fan base is different just because of the ownership, and it is the smallest market by far to have an NFL football team.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, you go there, it's like it doesn't feel like it should be there, right? It's like, and that's what I loved about it. And I have this funny memory, even like my folks would make us carol around Christmas time, and they would take us around. And I remember we were caroling on a Sunday game day, and we rolled up to this nursing home, and the game was on in like the cafeteria, and they were like, the folks at the nursing home were like, all right, we got to turn the game off for the carolers. And we created a riot. It was like, don't do that. Don't mess with it. Yeah. And so I think it was that type of I know there is like every NFL team, like you're saying, has this like diehardedness, but I think because there's no other professional sports teams close by. I mean, you have like the Brewers, kind of Milwaukee area,
Sure.
the Bucks kind of thing, but it's still so much smaller in comparison. Yeah, it's just a special, I think because of the concentration of nothing else competing for attention is what creates a really unique fan base there, aside from the community owned part.
You kind of got the gist of it in the trailer, but tell people a little bit about the film, because I mean, I mentioned football, but it's got a lot to do with farming and family and faith, and I guess football would be the fourth F.
Yeah,
of those.
Totally.
It's in there, but it's not the spine of the story.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's not. It really is. It really is about. I think if there is like a correlation to football, it is like the tribal nature of the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't a lot of films about fans, like you if you think of sports stories, you think of like Rudy, it's like, yeah, he's a fan, but then he actually is playing. The only other, you have like Silver Linings Playbook a little bit, goes into like Eagles lore, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, the heart and soul of the film is about an old dairy farmer who's trying to save his little family farm from going under. And he realizes, he comes to a point in his life where he's like, I actually have no other option. And he gets this opportunity to make a discretionary extension on his loan if the Packers can win the Super Bowl. And you realize it's the banker's like subtly a Bears fan. But yeah, but it really is a family story. It's really a pretty, like, it's a heartwarming film about people who work really hard and have the world is changing around them and they can't continue to do it how they used to do it. And what do they do?
It's one of those movies. When you watch it, you try to think, I don't know if anybody else could have played the role that Craig T. Nelson played. And people know him from sports, from the TV series Coach, and everything else he's done. He's done a million projects, but he seemed like a perfect fit. Was he hard to get? Was he your first choice? Yeah,
it's a great question. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, he is Coach. Everybody, even up in Wisconsin, we'd be driving around or shooting, people be yelling, "Hey, Coach, Coach!" It's like he can't escape that. But yeah, he was our first choice. But as first-time filmmakers, it's like we don't have a very big budget, and you have no credibility.
Yeah.
And our casting directors took a flyer on us. They had a gap in their schedule, and they said, "Who do you want?" And we were like, "We want Craig." And they laughed at us. They said, "You guys, like, cool, we'll pass it to him. But yeah, but you have nothing. There's nothing to show for what you've done historically that would give you like more of like an A-list type actor." And so they're like, "Think of your other list of who you'd want, and then we'll pass it along and we'll regroup end of week." And then the next day they called and said, "You guys, we cannot believe this, but he read it overnight and he wants to talk to you." And at this point in his career, he was 78 or 79 when we shot.
Wow.
And so he doesn't have to work. Like, he's just doing, and that's what he said. He's like, "I don't have to do anything like this anymore. Like, I live in Malibu. I am taken care of." And, but he's like, "I read your story." He's like, "I read scripts all the time." And he's like, "This is the message behind the film is the stuff that I really want to help get out in the world." He's like, and essentially he's throwing his name behind us to help us as filmmakers kind of continue in our career. So.
Nearly 80, leaving Malibu to go up to Door County, Wisconsin to shoot. I don't think I would have bet on you getting that done.
No, it was a miracle. I mean, in all of these films, anytime I see a movie now, I know how hard and unlikely they all are to be made. And I have such a respect for the things that have to fall into place in order to make them happen. And Craig was a big piece.
When you said we made the film and we went looking for Craig, talk about who we is, because you guys, you and your family really invested in this project in a variety of ways from start to finish.
Yeah. I mean, the we is, when you look at the end credit list, even for an indie movie, it's pretty extensive. It's probably 300 people. Mm-hmm. But the guts of it is, it was me and my brother. He's the main producer on the project along. And there was one other producer, and then a local Colorado guy here named Dan Visser,
right?
He's part of Furniture Row. I met him when they were doing the Furniture Row race team.
Sure.
I was marketing for the race team, and but yeah, between Dan and my brother and our other producer, it was like we all kind of went all in on this thing and tried to make
Did
it
the
go.
story exist somewhere, or did you write it from start to finish? Was there a screenplay already in your lap, or?
No, yeah, it's funny, actually, retroactively, I think I've had 4 emails now from farmers who said, did you make this movie based on my life? They wrote it. And so it says inspired by true events. It wasn't any of those particular farmers, but
Right.
but we had, growing up loosely around the farming community, it's like you witness the loss of what people are experiencing, and then you also witness the generosity of the community in a very special way that we were excited to portray.
How important was that to make sure that you were making a valid portrayal, because you knew the life, you'd been around that
Totally.
life.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I think for us, especially a lot of folks up there or in rural communities in general, they get kind of put in these tropes, kind of these hokey tropes where it's like, oh, they're simple, they don't think critically,
Right.
So I was like, I really want to dignify farmers in a really intentional way. So I wanted him to be thoughtful about what he did and how he went about it. I wanted it to all be authentic and real. So we even shot in a functional micro dairy. The radio that you see.
Yeah.
It was like we didn't touch that. That was
It was
in,
an old
and it was written.
transistor?
Yeah, and it was like written into our script. It was like those radios are blaring in all of these barns.
Yeah.
And they're listening to Packers games. They're listening to local community news, all that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was just. The truth of it is I wanted it to dignify those areas. I wanted those people to be really proud of the work that they do because, farmers in particular take so much pride in their work, and it's a tough business, and increasingly so. And to be able to hopefully have like pop culture, to have guys like Craig T. Nelson, organizations like the Packers say like, we see you, we love what you're doing.
How were they about letting you use, I mean, the NFL can be pretty proprietary as far as letting you use any footage or the broadcast networks.
Yeah.
But it's in there.
Yeah. No, it's our lawyer, when we first turned the script in to our lawyer for review, he said, hey guys, you might get a cease and desist at some point. And I was like, okay. He's like, don't freak out, but just call me if that happens, if you receive something, and we'll sort it out. But we went through all production. We didn't have any problems with that. And then it came, like, the rubber meets the road, and it's like, okay, now we have to approach the NFL and like turn it in and say, here's the shots we want.
They're painted in a soft light in there. I mean, they're just factually presented, and
Yeah.
it's not anything the NFL would worry about you saying about them either. It
Totally.
was just straightforward NFL product.
Yep. Yeah. But we worked in, so Leroy Butler, the, I was
Hall
going
of
to call him
Fame
MVP.
defensive back.
Yeah, from the Packers. He did a little cameo in our film, and we asked him, like, hey, can you write us like a good letter to NFL Films and write on our behalf? And because that footage is expensive, like legally, yeah, you don't see a lot of NFL films because historically they're known as the not fun league to work with in movie stuff. So, but Leroy wrote us a really heartfelt letter. We turned over the movie to NFL Films, and we said, here's what we want. And they came back and they were so excited about it. Because for them, it's hard for them to get family content in sports. Like there's so much drama and there's so much, like they have a lot of negative things, or the charismatic lifestyles, all these kinds of. So for them, they were like, this is perfect, you guys.
So they green-lighted. Did they send you a bill too?
They sent us a small bill.
Oh,
yeah, it
really?
was. Yeah, it was a fraction of what we anticipated.
Oh, that's great.
To be honest, yeah.
So Craig T. Nelson certainly is the center of this film in many ways, but I want to ask you about some of the other members of the cast. One of them, if I say his name, I don't know if anybody will know who I'm talking about, and if you see his face, you'll know, but M. Emmett Walsh is one of the great character actors of all time. You made the movie a little over 4 years ago. Sadly, he has passed away since, but I imagine working with him had to be somewhat unique, and casting him another interesting story.
Totally. Yeah. So I mean, all of this stuff, like in general in movies, it's who you know, who you're connected to, and that's how you kind of maneuver your way through the world. So we had there was another older actor we needed, and so Craig was like, I'd like to bring one of my friends. And so I didn't know who he was going to recommend, and then this agent calls and she says, Emmett Walsh, he's interested in doing your movie. And I said, who's Emmett Walsh? Because I didn't, like you're saying, you don't know his name. And she goes, Google him. And I Googled him on the phone. I said, oh, yeah, we'd like to have Emmett Walsh in our movie.
He's in everything.
Yeah.
He's been in so many commercials and shows and movies. And it's always terrific.
Yeah. No, yeah. He's been in yeah, he's been in so much. And yeah, I mean, being able to work with a legend like that was a really special. I even have this memory. The last scene we did with him was in that hospital scene. And I just have this image in my head of him walking down the hallway, and he goes, I was like, "See, Emmett, thanks for everything." He doesn't turn around. He goes, "You did good, kid. Hope you get your next film." And
that was his final film, I believe.
It was his final. Yeah, this is his last released movie.
Yeah. I don't know if you could have made the film either without the young lady who plays Jenny. Extremely talented, and a lot was asked of her.
Yeah.
But she was terrific.
Totally. Yeah, no, she was. And she's her past, she grew up in South Dakota and then moved. Her folks let her move to LA when she was 16, I think.
Oh, wow.
And she went and lived with her uncle out there so she could try acting and modeling. And so she's been slugging at this for a lot of years and put her life on the line. And so in effect, her life story of like wanting to leave a small town, wanting to get out, and then like turning to appreciate it mirrors Jenny's story in the movie too. So
you made it in 2021, but it doesn't come out till this year.
Yeah.
What happened? I mean, I think of COVID being one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's part of that is just how long some of these indie movies take. You know, like a lot of films get shot and then they sit on shelves for years. And for us, we were fighting and clawing the whole way. But the writer strikes happened, SAG strikes happened. The whole industry was decimated. I mean, you take any industry and freeze it for 9 months, it's a mess.
Paralleled the struggle of the dairy farmers.
Yeah,
in your
totally.
Film,
yeah,
we're trying to make a movie here.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So we came out ready to release after that, and the industry, our big agency rep was like, we're not taking indie movies to market. We're just trying to sell, like $50 to $100 million movies right now to get off, like let alone these little ones.
Would this movie have gone to theaters? Because I get the feeling not many movies actually go to theaters anymore. They come right to your streaming service.
Totally. Yeah, so exactly. So what was interesting about it is once we realized, like, okay, the cavalry's not coming. Right. It was like, we got to figure out how to DIY this ourselves. Essentially, how do we become a studio, a mini studio? Yeah, to distribute it. So we reached out. The Packers were already like really interested in the film. They loved it, thought it was sweet. They just didn't know how to really help us. Right. So then we got a partnership with Culver's, who's like a fast food chain out of Wisconsin. Sure. They have a Thank You Farmers project. That's their nonprofit, is they donate to farmers. So it was just like an absolute sweet spot for them. So they essentially like came on board, gave us cash to activate a nationwide theatrical release. So then we took like Culver's, Packers, and we went to these theaters and we said, we think we can do 1,000 screens. Can you help us? And so this group called Fathom Entertainment, they're actually here in Colorado too, Centennial, which is like a lot of people are so surprised to hear that. Like a group owned by AMC Cinemark Regal is here. Right here. Yeah.
So it did go to theaters and then when we see it now, does Amazon, I'm just getting a little into the weeds here on distribution. Sure. Like, do you say, hey, Netflix, hey, Amazon, hey, you call up all the major players and say, do any or all of you want to carry our film?
Yeah, exactly. So, and some of that is based on the performance of how you do theatrically. So it's a risk. By going theatrically, you really hang your ass out in the wind on it. You're like, here, we're just,
this is people sitting in a theater in Florida, but you fill a theater in Milwaukee.
Exactly. Yeah. So we Fathom guaranteed us 4 days. We did 5 weeks.
Oh, great.
In theatrical run. So we did really well theatrically. And then, we were then able to take it out to Amazon, Netflix, iTunes, those kinds of things. And the streaming deal that we got that was the best one was this group called Angel Studios, actually. Okay. They're kind of a lesser known, smaller, younger streaming platform, but they came on board and it's like blown up on there. It did really, really well.
So this becomes a success. It's a film people are talking about, positive vibes, positive reviews, which means you now get to do what? Because comparative to the workload you had to carry to just get started, to go from 0 to 60, now you're at 60. What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're developing a lot of different projects. So between my brother and then me and Dan, like we've got a lot of projects that are probably like 4 to 5 that are like in the pipeline where we're kind of just like similar. I imagine them almost like plants, like you water them a little bit and see which one really starts to get legs and go.
Would any of that be here in Colorado? Because we're going to get into how you are now a Colorado, and you've got 10 years and you qualify.
I qualify, yeah, 100%. I mean, the state of Colorado, between Sundance coming here, like a lot of folks...
Well, moving to Boulder. Yeah,
or moving to Boulder, yeah, exactly. It's like, that's a big deal in the movie industry. And I think a lot of production here has always been really solid, but I think it's only getting better. There's a lot of, like, in terms of tax credits, there's a lot of advocacy going on for that, because that's the first. In fact, when we were shooting in Wisconsin, a major studio came to us 2 weeks before we were about to shoot. Craig's on a plane flying, and they're like, hey, we want to buy your film, but you need to stop what you're doing, send Craig home. We're going to wait a year and we're going to shoot in Alabama, and for tax credits.
Okay. And
we were like, man, at that time the film was called God Loves the Green Bay Packers. We were like, man, we can't shoot this in Alabama.
Alabama? Well, Bart Starr's from Alabama.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But we were like, I mean, we tried every angle with them to be like, how about this? How about this? And they were like, no, we just need the tax credit guarantee. So it's a big deal. So we ultimately turned it down, actually.
So do you I imagine you'll be visible at Sundance. You probably were at the Denver Film Festival, and it does seem like Denver/Colorado is becoming more of a player. Obviously,
100%.
we have scenery.
Yeah, you've got everything here. Like, that's the thing, is you have, I mean, by and large, very consistent weather on the Front Range. 300 days of sun that's helpful. Yeah. Then you have mixed seasons. You have lakes, mountains. It's a variety, but let alone a lot of great crew and infrastructure already here.
Yeah.
So I think there's a chance that you'll see more and more movies. There was a big movie in Fort Collins this year, all of a sudden, like where I lived in my little street. I've been here 10 years, and then all of a sudden it was like big light, shut down, that. So I think you'll see more and more of that.
So like I said, and you just mentioned 10 years in Fort Collins. Mm-hmm. Fort Collins doesn't strike everyone as a natural destination, especially for an aspiring filmmaker. So how did that process work? How did you get from there to here?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, I always describe myself as like a deep sea fisherman who lives in Iowa. It's like
good luck.
Yeah, but it's getting more and more community here, and but a lot of our work, we travel where the gigs are.
Sure.
So for commercials, we'll travel. I was just in Ohio actually last week, and so we travel everywhere. So being near a big airport's super helpful.
Yep.
But yeah, I ended up here because we wanted to prioritize family and lifestyle over career. To be honest,
being
your
me
and my wife, and so we wanted. I grew up in obviously in northern Michigan. I grew up hunting, fishing, like being in the woods all the time. So I wanted to be someplace that I could be close to access that, but also a major airport.
Well, it's interesting to see. It does the sports part of that film, is that natural for you? Like, did you grow up a huge sports fan?
Definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of people in the Midwest too. It's like I grew up playing football, basketball, golf. Like I did that all through high school, and then obviously watching the Packers, and I love athletics. I think there's something really interesting to me about because I'm in art now. Like that's my primary thing, right? But when I listen to coaches' interviews, like I feel like it's actually more beneficial to artists to be involved in athletics and to listen to them, because the training, the discipline, the regimen there's a ton of overlap. And I think even like I was saying a little bit at the beginning, like the tribal nature of like sports fans is really fascinating. It's like, why do people care about this stuff so much? Like it's a huge part of the world, especially in the States, like, and people are going bananas for it. And it's more than entertainment. That's what I think. It's like, it goes way deeper than just, something to, keep us smiling on Sundays. It's like there's something deeper. So
that old phrase about problems or being in the crucible doesn't define your character; it reveals it. And I always think of sports as being a great way to reveal someone's character in a film, in a book, in a song, or whatever you're doing artistically. That sports, I use the term a metaphor, but it's actually, a pretty straight line parallel for many people through life.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is. And there's like, I mean, it's like a great way. It's like a pressure cooker. Yeah. And there's also like, there's clarity to like, there's a clear winner and a loser most games, like, and that you don't get that in a lot of other areas of life. Like art doesn't have that. Business doesn't really have it for, like there's just like, even in our relationships, you don't have that kind of clarity, but sports allows this like very clear, measurable thing for us to try and achieve and do. And from storytelling perspective, that's like really what you look for.
What are your favorite sports movies? I mean, ever since you started watching
Oh man,
films?
I mentioned Rudy. I feel like Rudy's like my all-time. Also like Remember the Titans.
Yep.
That's another movie that like you go back and watch. That's a very thoughtful sports movie for its time. You know, it was talking about like a lot of conversations of race that you still have going on in culture today.
It was very time period oriented. Yeah. I always like The Natural.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the films. I always think of the use of music in movies has become more and more important. I think the first time I ever recognized popular music, current music, being used in a film was in the old John Voight, Jane Fonda film Coming Home. Very dramatic film. It Oscar-winning film. But they used the Chambers Brothers' Time Has Come Today, and it was in a very tense scene. And I thought since then, music has become such a fascinating part of it. And I always think of The Natural had a brilliant score. And you think of how many movies do that and stuff. So I think people like not only hearing songs they're familiar with, but music can suddenly take you places in a scene, in a couple of scenes. Yeah,
it's so good. Like the director Christopher Nolan, he'll actually have the movie scored ahead of time before, like in the script form.
Right.
The guy, you know, they'll start working on the music, and it's not like he doesn't view it as like a sauce you drizzle on at the end. It's like it's infused as a part of it. And you know, I think image is so literal. Like when you shoot something, you have a video or a photography shot. It's like it is the thing. Like that's a tripod. But music can live in the abstract so much more, and can pull like a transcendent feeling that I think is really respected. So I view music almost as like it's 50 to 60% of what you're doing. It's
and then when you cut it, I always do this because I'll take a photograph I'm really fond of and I'll produce it the way I like, and then I'll come back the next day and it'll be, no, that's not it. And then I'll do it another way, and then I'll find my way through it. But do you find your way when you're editing a film where you go, I like this cut tight, I like this cut loose, and then the next day go, no, it's the other way around.
Mix it up. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we call them editing suicide missions. So it's like I'll actually work with our editor in the way where he'll be editing like most of the movie, and then I'm just running suicide missions, I call them, with like, hey, I'm gonna let me reflip all that around until you just like, I think you find your way through it. That's a great way. It's in that way it is different. You're not an architect and an engineer. There is like a discovery element to what you're doing, and hopefully you're doing with the muse and all these other kinds of abstract things.
And just the way your mind works the next day or the day before. It's not the same every day. It can be pretty organic. Yeah. So these plants you're watering right now that may be your next project, do you have a timeline wish list? Like, would you like to be in production in 26? Would you like to be done with something in 26, 27?
Yeah, I would love to be in production by the end of 2026. I feel like we're kind of ready. Like,
so what do you do between now and then? Like, do you have nothing to do? Do you just sit around and play golf and watch the sunset?
I feel like I work so long, so hard, and nobody pays me to do it. But it's like, that is the joke. It's especially on movies, it's so hard to make a living. Like 8 out of 10 of these lose money. Yeah. It's a nasty,
cruel business.
It's a cruel business. But in that same sense, it has that same like chase, that like pursuing the Super Bowl, like these athletic type, like I want to drive, I want to train, I want to get better at it. And so, we're, in terms of developing, it's like we're writing a lot. We edit a lot of rip trailers. So essentially we did this with Green and Gold too, is like we made the trailer for it before we shot the movie.
You cut that together.
We didn't even film anything. We just used other people's work and made this, like, here's what we want it to feel like and be like, because then you're pitching to studios, you're pitching to private equity investors, and you're trying to get a lot of cash on a really fast moving project.
That's got to be so hard to get people to buy your vision. I mean, sometimes if you walk into a room and someone goes, you get it, I love it, I'm in. Yeah. But most of the time they're like, I don't see it the way you see it.
Exactly. And I think about it, to keep using a sports metaphor, like a coach, it's a coach who's won Super Bowls can come into a room and command the room, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, I'll follow that guy.
Yeah.
But when he's young in his career or he's like unproven, you're still like, people are a little wary of you. They're skeptical of like, oh, are you going to be able to do what you do? So, but I think having green and gold is like, I think it's about as good as we could do for a first rep. Like, we'll likely pay everybody back, which again, you're in like the top 15, 20% of movies at that point.
That's a success.
You know, I think like we made something that is authentic and true. We made something that's like meaningful for a really, you know, especially that Midwest audience. It's like so meaningful. This, like I still get letters weekly from people, you know, it launched in January. People who like write me, take time to like write me and tell me how meaningful the movie is.
Yeah, it's a film that if it connects with you, it'll move you, and you know, it's got a lot of emotion in there and a lot of stuff that people can connect with, no doubt. Last one for you, I got to find out your sports heroes. Who were your guys growing up, or your ladies? Who were your favorites?
Yeah, I mean, and sticking with the Packers theme, like, I mean, Brett Favre I was aware of the Packers when the Magic Man was there, Don Majkowski. Yeah, and then I watched Brett Favre kind of come in. I rode his rise, so like him, and then when Aaron Rodgers transitioned, I loved Aaron Rodgers,
right?
And I mean, I still do. Like, I just find him entertaining and interesting. You know, he's a controversial guy. He's just like funny to me. Like, and he seems pretty thoughtful. Again, despite his quirks, like, one of my favorite things is when it was old Steelers. This last year when Rodgers went to the Steelers,
right?
One of the old coaches there like criticized him for coming.
Cower,
something like that. And they go, "What do you think about that?" He's like, the coach was like, "Send him back to California. You can smell the trees," or do something like that. And Rodgers was like, "Man, I wish he just got to know me. Like, I think he would think differently of me if he got to know me." And just like a thoughtful response like that, I just love. So I think, probably like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Jordan Love still has like a lot to be proven. I like him as a person, but
Packer quarterback.
Packer quarterback seemed to be my
that's
my
what it is.
Yeah.
Well, Anders, continued success. Enjoy Fort Collins.
Thank you.
And thanks for taking time, and thanks for making the movie Green and Gold. People, I know people will like it, and sharing some of the stories behind it with me. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Again, it's called Green and Gold, starring Craig T. Nelson, made by Fort Collins filmmaker Anders Lindwall. And you can find it on Amazon Prime. You can find it on iTunes or Tubi, so check it out. That's going to do it for this week's edition of The Other Tom Green Show. As always, we hope to see you right back here again next week.